I'm your host Aishwarya. Today on our Be Healthy show, we bring to you the latest from the world of healthcare. Top headlines for today are ICA.care combines CoWIN app for booking COVID-19 vaccines. B Capital buys minority stake in PharmEasy. COVID-19 vaccination slots can now be booked on Paytm. Before I proceed with today's news, I request our viewers to take necessary precautions as the battle against COVID-19 is not over yet. Remember, this is the time we fight the virus together. News for today are Health tech platform ICA.care has integrated the CoWIN app for COVID-19 vaccination bookings in India. It has become the first health tech platform for the integration. Venture capital firm B Capital has bought a minority stake in online pharmacy PharmEasy for $20 million through a secondary deal. This values PharmEasy at $1.8 billion. Apart from finding available slots, users can now book COVID-19 vaccination slots on the Paytm app. The slots can be booked for both Covaxin and Covishield in the nearest centers. Brightline, a digital health startup focused on offering virtual behavioral health services for children, has raised $72 million. GV led the funding round. Healthcare startup IdeaRx is eyeing Rs 480 crore gross merchandise value in a year. IdeaRx has an AI-driven demand forecasting capability and inventory management system. The startup has delivered over 55 lakh COVID-19 critical items to hospitals. That's all for today.
Okay, I think it's a wonderful platform. It gives us exposure to a wider audience. As I said, NDT is a very niche field and not well known beyond the practitioners and the immediate users. So this kind of a platform gives us the opportunity to reach out to a broader audience of people who are, all of us are affected by quality of infrastructure every day of our lives, right? We need our trains to run safely. We need our planes to be safe, right? We need oil and gas pipelines to be safe. So this is a matter for all of us, and that's the message I would like to give.
दादी के हाथ का स्वाद याद दिलाए दादी मसाले।
Welcome to My Salad TV's Founder Talk. Today we are joined by Astha Gupta, who's a well-being entrepreneur and a very young yoga trainer based out of Delhi. Today Astha will be joining us to talk more about her entrepreneurial journey in creating this beautiful enterprise which is called Still. Still is focused on creating an impact in the lives of many people, more particularly millennials, and how it uses yoga technique, the classical yoga techniques, one by one to make a beautiful change in our lives. Joining us today is Astha once again. Hi Astha, thank you so much for joining My Startup TV today. Astha, let me begin by asking you the question. Unlike a lot of other graduates, once they finish their undergraduation, job is what they look forward to doing. Or in India, the classical case is sitting for a CAT, taking tests and getting into an MBA college or something like that. But how is that you chose neither and you decided to venture out on yourself and to take up yoga as a full-time opportunity? How did that start?
I would say, Harshita, like the short answer is that I love yoga and I feel like everybody in the world needs to do it in the way that it's taught in Indian ashrams, which is the traditional style. I'm very passionate about it and I want people to do it. But I think if I dive a bit, if I think a bit more, during college and right after that, I just really spent a lot of time thinking about what is the grand purpose, right, of being in this world. And for me, just being able to contribute in the few years that I have on this planet made sense. Like, hey, I'm here. I should be able to do something which makes the world a little bit happier, more resilient, more humble, more hardworking, has more willpower. These are phenomenal traits that can make the world a better place. And I think yoga is one thing that that brings these values. Just consistent practice. It sounds odd. It feels like an exercise to a lot of people, but consistent traditional yoga practice imbibes in us values of being completely fearless and humble and resilient. And I think these are phenomenal value adds for the world, right? And I think that's how I look at it.
That's quite a thought process for a young person like you to, look at the world from a very different perspective. So, how did you actually, start about practicing yoga? So, who introduced you to yoga, and how did the journey actually start for you?
So for me, I think I used to work in the camps and I used to take groups on expeditions and work as a camp instructor when I was in college as a side gig. And on one of these camps, I remember at like 4 in the morning, I see this one person. His name is Krishna Rao. He was doing some Surya Namaskars at 4 in the morning. And I was very impressed with this person. And I went to him and he taught me a few of them and said, just do this every day. You don't need to go to these studios and yoga classes, this, that. Just do this 20-minute routine daily and we'll talk in 6 months, right? So that's how it started for me. And it always stayed a very solo practice. It was never about, I don't know, I think mainstream yoga has made it very different, but from what I understand in the ashrams, it was about learning something to do in a routine and then doing the same thing every day. And you feel how it impacts you mentally. For me, yoga is really about the mind. The physical stuff is just an add-on. So that's how it started at a camp in 2015 or something, where I look up to this person a lot and he was doing something and I said, you teach me whatever you're doing right now.
That's quite an interesting story. So, in a very short span of time, you got inclined towards yoga and you started practicing it. And now it's like your full-time work, I would say. But I can see that you enjoy what you're doing. So, how did this journey start for you that you wanted to go solo? Because a lot of people probably after learning yoga or to train to be a yoga instructor would probably the easiest way would be go work for a studio or go work for established organizations already. So what made you choose the route of entrepreneurship?
I think entrepreneurship is a very like a gut thing. Intuitively, you feel like, hey, this is something I want to do, and I think I'll be good at it, or I will like it every day. So for me, I've known this ever since I was in school that I want to run my own thing. The freedom that comes with it, to be able to think and envision, what you're bringing to the world, it's a beautiful feeling. And so somewhere it's not a new decision. I always knew, but I was just not sure of what to start. And I said, hey, I like yoga so much, so why not? So it wasn't a very like long thought after rational pros and cons decision. It was very intuitive.
That's quite good to know because a lot of enterprises today start by, backing themselves with logic, data, with market research, and, all of these numbers that help them drive why they need to do something or why they need to do XYZ to generate business. But there are very few entrepreneurs who actually do something very intuitively. So when you started out, what were the hurdles that you actually faced? What were the challenges that you had to overcome?
Just to like backtrack a bit, right? What you were saying about the part of choosing data or being intuitive. I don't think it's an either or scenario, like one has to either, so it's not like there were no data related decisions or whatever. But I feel that when the purpose of doing something is beyond you, like it's beyond, I want to build a brand and I want to be an entrepreneur in this world. And it's not just that, there's something more to it beyond yourself. Like you want to contribute in a way that the world changes in some sense. And that why is very clear. Everything becomes like you still use data, etc. But everything becomes a very like no fear, no hurry ride. Right? You're just trying to make the world a better place through using this little company as a medium. So everything becomes a joyride, I feel. And then challenges, I don't even remember them. I'm sure there were many, like there were many things like technically something's not working. I'm feeling underconfident taking my first class or not knowing what stills model would be till very recently. Right? Am I just teaching yoga? But these challenges don't feel like challenges when the purpose is, I think, beyond yourself and your little company. It's then it doesn't feel like a challenge or a hurdle, I think.
So in your particular industry, experience really matters. Probably I'm just guessing, people would probably choose to go and learn from a yoga trainer based on the number of years of experience that they have had. So have you ever felt this challenge that because you're too young, people would resist coming to your classes, or probably that was a barrier for you? Have you ever felt that way?
Not really. And I think again, it comes from the why. You know, when your why is so strong, then anything, like for me, looking at competition as competition, looking at the market and seeing who else exists and am I better is not needed all the time. I think when you know what you want to do, how you want to offer it, and you have decent amount of confidence that hey, what I'm doing is bringing some value. I think you somewhere know you'll create a place somewhere in this world. It doesn't have to be the number one yoga company in the world, right? You know that it'll create a space somewhere in the world, and that's enough to kind of keep you going, I think.
I'm just blown away by that. So it's quite humbling to know that there are entrepreneurs who aspire just to make an impact and not necessarily chase after the big bucks. So for you, what was the challenge when you had to acquire your first customer in terms of having them come to you, learn or take lessons by paying to you and not by the classical marketing model where come all and we could just learn and train and let's just create a community. So what was the feeling or the whole process like when you had to get the first customer on board to run your enterprise?
So the first customers were my friends and family, okay, and easy, right? You just message them and say, I'm starting something, please come and learn with me. It's as simple as that. But I think for me, right from the beginning, the marketing approach was word of mouth. I said, if this has got to work in the long term, I need to focus on myself and my product so well that whoever does a course with me goes and tells 10 people about it, right? Let the sales come in after 5 years, where I focus on selling through different like mediums. Okay, not 5 years, but 3 years, right? Let me refine my product as much as I can through feedback. And that's why going through known circles. So that's how the journey has been for the past year and a half, wherein almost non-existence on social media or selling, but just through word of mouth, right? I've taught more than 200 people, and I have like, so yeah, I think that it's about, like, for me right now in the beginning, it's about making the product better and better. And the marketing approach for that is just you teach something, you get good feedback, and you let them tell 10 other people. And that's how I've grown to whatever stage things are at. And I think I got lucky by not doing an MBA. Sometimes when you do an MBA, you think really big, right? Thankfully, I'm not thinking that big. If it has to happen, it'll happen, kind of a thing.
Something else that I would like to know from you is, as a young person who has taken into entrepreneurship, all right, as a lot of Indian parents would say that they are worried about their child, moving to a, exploring or navigating a really different path or horizon, which is entrepreneurship, which is not very new to Indian parents to see, kids going in that particular zone. So, how supportive were your parents, and what were some of the concerns that probably your parents had and shared with you when you first told them that you're going to take yoga as a full-time job opportunity, or go that way, and instead of the classical, go and work for a corporate job?
So I would attribute like every single feeling, thought, and word that I've used so far or whatever to what I've kind of inculcated from the way my parents approach things in life. So maybe I just got lucky in the sense that they are extremely exposed to the world in a lot of ways. They understand what is needed now in today's world. They're entrepreneurs themselves.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of the gyan that I get on, how to approach something without fear and greed and hurry has come from them. So yeah, whatever mentality I have where I can focus on just the task at hand without worrying too much is a value that I've gotten from them. They've run a consulting firm themselves, and for them, working without fear, hurry, and greed was the mantra to be successful. And I've tried to kind of imbibe that from them.
Okay, so now let's talk more about Still, which is soon going to be launched by you. So tell us, what is Still and what do we expect from this particular enterprise of yours?
Okay, so Still, in just a nutshell, is basically a way to make classical traditional yoga more accessible, more approachable to the world. I think somewhere along the lines in mainstream yoga, the focus has shifted from the mind to the body, stilling of the mind. That's what it really is supposed to make us do. But we focused a little bit too much on these handstands and headstands and fancy flexibility things, right? Which are great, but the purpose is not that. the purpose is way greater. So for me, the idea behind Still is to bring the traditional style in a format that's accessible. Not everybody has the bandwidth or time to go to these Indian ashrams and learn yoga the way it's really supposed to be taught, and learn the philosophy behind it. So for me, it's a way to make it all really crisp, for a young millennial who wants to just get a hang of it and kind of destigmatize it a little bit, right? Yoga doesn't have to be very, very spiritual and only for these vegan hippies, or only for like certain kind of very flexible women. And there are these notions, and I think somewhere we need to bust these notions and look at yoga for what it is, which is a super systematic approach to master your mind, right? That's all that yoga is in a nutshell. So we need to start looking at it that way. And if we do, then we're kind of contributing to, again, a generation that is more fearless, more humble, more resilient, which is the big why behind Still as well.
I'm quite intrigued that the kind of thinking that you have already as a millennial in association with yoga. For someone like me, yoga, yes, as you said, it's something related to probably toning your body, losing weight, or more flexibility, adding more flexibility. But it's or definitely one perspective that we have never really come across as calming our mind and talking more about mindfulness, or just helping us stay focused in that direction. So this time around the year, when there's pandemic and everybody is working from home, there's a lot of stress, the longer working hours, there's just a lot of things that are going around us. So how do you think of this particular time as an opportunity for people to actually gain insight into yoga as actually a stress buster and something that really puts you at ease, puts your mind at ease? How do you look at this particular time and opportunity?
Yeah, I think every year something or the other is going to come in, and I don't think there needs to be an opportunity for one to get into yoga, really. But I do feel that this pandemic has amplified the distraction or the noise in our minds a little bit. There is just so much, right, on the news, and like so much is happening. So this in yoga psychology is a scattered state of mind, right? You might sometimes feel like you feel restless or out of control, or too much is happening. There's too much noise, and we are in an age of noise. There's no denying that. So at such a time, just to be better at whatever we are doing, being able to still the thoughts is going to be useful. You could be an entrepreneur or an athlete or an artist, but if you're able to quieten the mind, and this is across philosophies, right? Whether you look at religions or philosophies, they all say the same thing, that to be better, to be a better version of yourself, you need to quieten the mind. And that's not intellectually, like we can't talk about it like, hey, we need to quieten the mind, right? You need to do certain practices which will help you do that. They could be asanas or postures, but they could also be breath work. They could also be concentration techniques. They could be parts of meditation. And that's what Still brings to the picture. It's not also about sitting for a drop-in class a day you're feeling really scattered, right? You don't feel like, hey, today I'm not feeling at my best, so let me sign up for a quick online drop-in. Right? Yoga is something that needs to be a lifestyle. So another thing with Still is we make sure that whoever comes on board on this journey, they understand the principles or the base of it so well that they get very convinced that, hey, I need to make this a part of my life throughout. And we make sure we provide all the tools necessary to make it a lifestyle habit.
So what I would also like to discuss is when you have to reach out to a lot of millennials, all right, to talk to them about yoga, the way you described, and that Still offers. As you said, there are a lot of these, built over assumptions of what yoga is. Either it's being associated to religion or spirituality, or different other stereotypes that already exist with it. How are you bursting each of this bubble that prevents a lot of young people from actually, accessing it and making the most of what yoga or Still could actually offer?
Well, I think you and everybody else watching should just log on to the Still website right away and see what is the feeling that you get, right? And that feeling is not going to be the quintessential yoga that we think of, and we worked really hard on doing that from just not a design or a content perspective, but also the product that we're offering. So in every way, the idea is to keep it to the roots, the way in ashrams these amazing teachers teach yoga to people who are seeking it in the right manner. But at the same time, make sure that we're talking about tools and techniques to get control over the body and mind. That's all that we're trying to do. So when a millennial looks at it as no jargon and no Sanskrit words, but just some things I can do 30 minutes, 40 minutes, which will increase my control over the body and mind on my major two instruments, I think they're able to look at it beyond the myths and notions. Yeah.
I think it's a great way of, talking to people to tell them to check out still and also get to know more about how this could actually help them, probably improve their performance, concentration, and beyond that, probably you and I don't know or we're not talking about. So just to end this discussion and interview of us, what would be some of the techniques that you would like to show our audience that they could actually use in their day-to-day life to, relieve stress or anxiety or any other concern or disturbances that they would actually be going through at this time?
I would say that for me, my personal favorite thing is pranayamas. So in yoga, there are different limbs and they're progressive in some sense. You start by controlling the body through postures. You move on to controlling the breath through pranayama or breath work. And then you do the mind stuff, all this concentration, meditation. So for the world that looks at yoga and meditation as two separate things, no, yoga is super holistic and big, and meditation is one of the final steps in the journey of yoga. For me, I think people who want to just get a glimpse of things or feel better quickly, pranayamas is the way to go. The two in the classical books that work really well are Kapalbhati and Anulom Vilom.
Breathing technique that you would probably want to give away? I mean, yes, you talked about the three postures, which is pranayam, Kapalbhati, and the other one. Could say that, and then probably just quickly give a breathing technique or something that we could do. You were mentioning in the pre-interview that we could just sit and do those breathing exercises just to relieve stress.
Harshita, it could, and people can also Google and YouTube like quick breathing to release stress and all of that, right? In some way, I want to steer clear of that, and me as well as still as a company, we don't think that like these quick fixes are the end of the world. Yoga is really beautiful and it's worth spending enough time to understand why you want to get into it. Learn the basics from scratch rather than pick up something which is at step 5 or step 6 and do it randomly for 7 days. So I would stay clear of doing that, but I would say that at still we have our major program, which is a 7-day flagship program, where we just take you through all the basics, right? Philosophically also, but also in terms of practice. And you're in a better place to pick and choose after that course that, hey, this is what I need to do every day. I can't to a general public say that do this Anulom Vilom and it'll change your life. It might not. So it's worth, I think, understanding why you get into something before just doing something randomly.
That's great. Thank you so much, Asta, for taking time to talk to us. And it was really great to know how young people or young entrepreneurs like you are thinking big and trying to make a better impact in the world we are today. And also, thank you so much for trying to take yoga to a brand new level that, probably you and I have not really, not you actually, but I or the audience wouldn't have really associated with. And happy Yoga Day. And I really hope that still makes a great impact in the lives of everybody who join you in this successful journey of yours. Thank you so much.
Thanks for all these kind words. Happy Yoga Day to you and everybody else who's watching. And thanks for having me, inviting me. I'm just starting out, so there's no like mileage coming in from me, but still to invite and kind of give us the push that we people need when we are starting out is extremely nice. So thank you, My Startup TV, for having me here.
Thank you so much.